little over 15,000 years ago, in the upper regions of Himalayas, a yogi appeared. Nobody knew where he came from. His antecedents were unknown, but he looked extraordinary. So people gathered, they waited, they thought he's going to perform some miracle, but he did nothing, simply he sat, unmoving. Only 7 people hung on. These 7 people recognized that this is a fantastic miracle because only someone who has transcended the physical nature can simply sit. Then they begged him, "You seem to be knowing or experiencing something that we cannot imagine, please teach us." Then he gave them some few simple preparatory methods and said, "You prepare yourself, let me see." They went on preparing themselves. Months went into years, years went into decades. 84 years passed. One day, he just looked. These 7 people had become shining receptacles. Humanity was first reminded the simple laws of nature are not permanent restrictions. If you're willing to strive, you can go beyond that. And he not only gave this idea, he gave methods as to how to get there. Because nobody knew his name, he never introduced himself, they called him Adiyogi. Adiyogi means the first yogi. "15,000 years ago, a yogi appeared in the upper regions of Himalayas. Nobody knew where he came from, his antecedents were completely unknown. So people gathered around him because he was such a phenomenal presence. A large group of people gathered like this. They expected him to say something, do something. He did nothing, he said nothing, simply he sat. If I simply sat here for 2 hours, I can imagine, within 15 minutes, those people in the last few rows, and they will slowly, still there's time for the cinema, let's go. If I said nothing for 2 hours, 90% of the people will be gone. If I said nothing for 6 hours, only a few hardcore ones will hang on, rest are all gone. Same happened to him. He said nothing, did nothing, simply sat still. Not for a day, not for a week, for months on end, he simply sat still. Everybody was expecting a miracle, nothing happened, he just sat. But they were missing a most fundamental miracle because the nature of your body is such right now, you're well attended to. You had lunch in the afternoon and maybe you snacked in the evening and so that you don't fall asleep, you had a coffee and maybe you have something in your bag. So many things. All these things are being attended to, so this is fine. Suppose we just make you sit here for 4 hours. Sadhguru, at least some water? Okay, drink water. After drinking water, can we just sit here, Sadhguru? That one? Okay, do that and come. Sadhguru, okay, if you give this, the next one, no permission, this'll just go. Or in other words, what you call as a body is a series of processes. Only if you're attending to them, it's fine. If you don't attend to it, then you see what a trouble it is. When you do not attend to the body, if you're hungry or why all that, people say, how long 1 minute is, depends on which side of the bathroom door you are. From inside, somebody says just 1 minute. Outside, it's 1 eon, okay? So because this is the nature of the body. If you do not attend to it, it'll become so compulsive and get you into such big trouble. But here he just sat. He neither ate, nor drank water, nor went to attend to nature's calls, simply he sat still. People could not even make out whether he's alive or dead. The only sign of life was, off and on, tears of ecstasy were dribbling down his cheeks, otherwise he simply sat unmoving. Then only 7 people hung on. They realized the miracle of him sitting here like this. Because if he has to sit here like this, he has transcended physical nature, otherwise you cannot sit like this. These 7 people hung on. Today we celebrate these 7 people as the Sapta Rishis. These were his first disciples of the Adiyogi. So this Adiyogi just sat there, these 7 people showed interest. He told them, this is not for you, this is not entertainment. But they said, no, we're willing to do anything. He gave them a few preparatory steps. They prepared for many years. Then one day when the solstice was shifting, he turned south and gave his teaching. Because the sun turned south, he turned south and started explaining the mechanics of being human. On this day, fortunately, the world… the United Nations has declared the World Yoga Day because the yoga began on that day. This incredible process of exploring the human mechanics went into the process. This predates all religion. When there was no religion on the planet, 15,000 years ago, he went into the mechanics of what it means to be human. And various aspects happened. He opened up 112 different ways in which a human being can attain to his ultimate nature. And when people asked, especially his wife Parvati asked, why not more? Why only 112? Then he said, if you are rooted in the body, there are only 112 possibilities. If you transcend the body, how many atoms there are in this universe, that many doorways are there if you're willing to explore it. But if you're rooted in this body, there are only 112 ways. And the whole yogic system subscribes to this even today because nobody has found more ways. Any number of yogis have explored in a million different ways, but there is no other doorway. In this body, there are 112 ways into which you get there. So for this, how to generate this, how to make this work the way you want it. So this whole mechanics, he started… Adiyogi explored for many years and he gave this elaborate knowledge to the world and then asked these 7 people to go in 7 different directions in the world. One went to Central Asia, another went to North Africa, another went to South America, another went to Southeast Asia, one came down to what we call as the Indian part of Himalayas, one stayed with him, and one more, who is very important for us, Agastya Muni, came down south. He is known as the father of southern mysticism because he did not spare a single human habitation south of the Vindhyas. In the Deccan Plateau, he made sure every single human being who lived in this place had some sense of spiritual process. This fundamental possibility has evolved from this one idea that he put in those 7 people's minds. He made them thirst for something beyond the limitations of their existence. He put this hunger into their stomach. He put this hunger into their hearts that they want to be something more than what we normally know as a human being. Every creature has come with a framework. An ant can do certain things. I'm sure there are some champion ants which can do little more. But within that framework, a tiger can do something, but within that framework. An elephant can do something, but within that framework. A human being can do something within that framework. A certain dimension of whatever.
He put this idea that you don't have to limit yourself to your dimension. You can transcend this. There is another way to be, a completely different way to be. This idea, he not only gave the idea and the thought, he also gave a method to go there. It is this one idea that a human being can strive to evolve beyond the dimension of his present existence, which is the basis of this whole civilization and culture. It does not matter whether somebody calls himself a Hindu or a Buddhist or a Jain or a Sikh or whatever. All of them are striving for this one idea, that they want to cross these limitations and attain to liberation. The idea of mukti, the whole culture is… the centerpiece is mukti, please see. Everything that we are doing here in this culture is essentially towards that there is a possibility of transcending all limitations and getting there. There has never been a more revolutionary idea on this planet. Since his time, nobody has come up with a more revolutionary idea than this, that you can transcend the very limitation, the very dimension in which you exist.
You said many times Shiva means that which is not. Then again there is Adi Guru, Adi Yogi, the Shiva who lived in Kailash, who lived in Kasi. What is that like? What is that which is not, and what is this Shiva whom you talk as Adi Yogi?
See, Shiva means that which is not. When we say that which is not, we are talking about a dimension which is not physical in nature. Because our perception, our sense perception is such that we can only perceive that which is physical. See, right now you can see my hand because it's stopping light. You can't see the air because it's not stopping light. Though the air that you breathe right now is more vital to your life than my hand, isn't it? But you can see this, you can't see that. In other words, our senses are geared to see only what is required for our survival process. Anything more than that if you want to see, you need a certain enhancement of perception. So entire yogic system is enhancement of this perception. Yoga is not a philosophy, it is not an ideology, it's not something that you believe in or disbelieve in. It is something that you use to enhance your perception, to sharpen your perception in such a way you can see things that you're not seeing right now. You can hear things that you're not hearing right now. See, right now, the meteorological department is saying, day after tomorrow it's going to rain. You look and see, does your eyes say that?
Not at all.
No, it doesn't. But I'm telling you, there are many birds and animals here which all know that day after tomorrow it's going to rain. Ants know it's going to rain day after tomorrow, but you don't know. Why?
They are probably experiencing something different.
Is it a fact in the evolutionary process, as human beings, we have the most evolved neurological system, yes? But they know and we do not know, simply because most human beings have burdened themselves with too much thought and too much emotion. They have not learned this fundamental, how to handle their thought and how to handle their emotion. So our own intelligence has become an impediment, that we don't even see things that an ant sees or an elephant sees or a tiger sees or even a dog sees. If you can't find out something, you bring dogs to find out today, isn't it? Because they seem to smell it out better, they seem to know things better than you. Because of that, we created instruments. Because we have an intelligence which is of a certain kind and which is still new to us, if in evolutionary scale it's still new to us. Because of this, we came up with tools, mechanisms, instruments. So we can't see up there what is there, so we put a telescope. Now, meteorological department is not run by the ants, it is run by human beings. They themselves cannot see, but they made instruments which will see. Yes? The ants may be able to see by themselves for their survival. We are not able to see because there is too much thought and emotion going on. But now we came up with instruments which will see for us, which will hear for us, which will tell us things which we ourselves are not able to do. So in this entire process, what is visible and what is not visible? What has a physical structure and what does not have a physical structure? We started exploring all these things. But the fundamental of our science or the pursuit of our science is called as physics. Physics is the only real science, rest is all offshoots of that. So when you say physics, you have clearly stated you only want to study that which is physical. This is a folly. This is the biggest mistake we've made. Now we are saying, only if it's physical, it can be studied and it exists. Anything that is not physical does not exist. Is it a fact that your physical body is an accumulation?
Yes.
Over a period of time you accumulated. So, if only this is real, you as a person, you as a life is not real. This is what we are stating. I'm saying this is where the fundamental flaw is. So, Shiva means that which is not. So, we are talking about in some way accessing that which is not physical or which is not in the purview of so-called physics or the modern science as we're talking about it. Today, modern science knows that there seems to be something beyond, so now they're saying your logic won't get you there, so they're inventing something called as fuzzy logic, but still it's not enough because still you're trapped in your own setups, because it's physics. You are only willing to accept the physical as reality. That means your very life is not a reality. The life that you are is not a reality, only your body is reality. So we have developed an entire culture based on this. When you say Shiva, in a way you're transcending that limitation of cultural limitations, scientific limitations, the mindset limitations that people have. Then where did he come from? If you grasped certain things and you got a certificate, you have grasped certain aspects of human body, we will tell you, oh, she's doctor. So how did you become a doctor? Because you perceived something. So now, a yogi came, he never bothered to introduce himself. So we call him the first yogi. Adiyogi means the first yogi, because he never told us his name. Then somebody said, but he's Shiva, because he's grasped that which is not. Because he is grasped that which is not, we also call him Shiva. So, right now, in the popular culture, he is Shiva, but in the spiritual culture, he is Adiyogi. Because for him, for us, he is a yogi, that's why we are interested in him. Because he experienced that which is not, we also call him Shiva. Now, if you look here, the male members of the people who are sitting here, more than 70% of them, their names are some expression of Shiva. Have they realized something? Have they seen that which is not? No. But they are capable. So we know their potential Shiva. So we call them also Shiva. We may even name our dog Shiva, okay? We don't think it's an offense. Because a dog does not know that which is not. A dog is not a yogi. The dog is not going to realize either in his life, but we know he also comes from the same source. As I came, as you came, he also comes from the same source. Some people are getting very offended that I said this. They can get offended because I don't think maybe they use the word dog as a derogatory term. I don't think there's anything derogatory about being a dog. Most people trust a dog more than the human beings.
Very true.
So as far as I'm concerned, I can even call a grasshopper Shiva, and I do. If I see a tree, I say Shiva. If I see a rock, I say Shiva. If I just look into the empty sky, I say Shiva. If I see moon, I say Shiva. If I see star, I say Shiva. So, are these rocks going to realize?
that they're Shiva? No. They may not realize, but I have realized. That's a big difference.
Is Lord Shiva is territorial or the universal? That still question lies on me.
The word Shiva, Shiva means that which is not. That which is physical creation. That which is not that which is not physical. That which is not, where can it be? In India or America? Or on this planet or in another galaxy, where can it be? It's everywhere. So, there is a dimensionless existence. So we called it appropriately Shiva, that means that which is not. Today modern scientists are saying that nearly 99% of the cosmos is empty. But not that there is nothing, there is something, but it is not something. Because our idea of something is, we should be able to perceive through five senses. See, right now what you can see and what you cannot see is this. You can see my hand because it is stopping light. Anything that is not stopping light, you don't see, isn't it? Right now there is air here which you're breathing, which is most vital for your existence, but you don't see it. You don't see the air unless you live in Delhi. Now, if you look up in the sky, you see the stars. But stars are a small happening. The real thing is the vast emptiness. So this we refer to as Shiva, that which is not. Today modern scientists are saying this vast space has a tremendous amount of energy, but it is not any of the energies that are measurable by us, like electromagnetic waves or weak nuclear energy or strong nuclear energy or electrical systems or microwaves, none of these things. It is none of the measurable energies. But there is no denying it is tremendously powerful. So we said, Shiva means that which is not, and we said it is in the lap of Shiva that creation happens. At the same time, we called Adiyogi also the Shiva, because he perceived that which is not. You are who you are, people call you a director, a film producer, why? Because you perceived something. If you did not perceive that, they would not recognize you as that. So we recognized Adiyogi as Shiva because he perceived that which is not. Because he perceived that, we called him also Shiva. So we will call the ultimate reality as Shiva, the one who realized that, the Adiyogi, as Shiva. One who did not realize that but has the possibility, we'll call him Shiva. We'll call the dog also Shiva because he is also made of the same stuff, but he cannot know. But we want him to hear that sound. So every time we call him Shiva, 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 we hope that he will evolve one day. These questions and these thoughts are coming from a mindset which has grown in organized religions. We are not talking about Shiva versus somebody else, because that you refer to as Shiva includes all these things that you're talking about. Just one little dimension, this or that, they found out and they started talking about it and they became popular. I'm not trying to belittle them, they're all wonderful human beings who've done great service to humanity. But I'm saying, in terms of perception, there hasn't been another being like him. And perception is all that I value, and that's all you should value. Rest,
can be made up. Rest is just frills. So you're talking about Zen. What greater master of Zen than Shiva himself? That somebody comes, his own son, he doesn't get the point. You heard of Guiti, the Zen master? Guiti always did this. He'll be talking. People look at it, okay, why is he showing the finger to me? The thing is, he's always trying to say everything is one. This is the teaching. Rest of what I say is not important. This is the teaching. So there was a little boy, because in these Buddhist monasteries, Zen monasteries, little boys become monks, 4, 5-year-olds. So the little boy who's growing up in the monastery, he saw Guiti and, the boy takes to him. So this boy is going about. If anybody says anything, so Guiti watched this. He waited for him to become 16. One day he called the boy and he did this. The boy instinctively, because he's been doing it all over the place, he also did this. He took out a knife and chopped off his finger. And they say he attained. He suddenly saw the point, that it's not about one, it's about nothing. Shiva went further, long time ago. He came back from somewhere, he always carried a trishul. So trishul is a trident. He's always carrying the trident to show people there are 3 dimensions. Yourself, your way of being, what you know and what you do not know. And what you do not know rules, not what you know. So one day he came back after a long break. He's not seen this boy, his son. Now he's 10, 11 years of age. When Shiva came, this boy is carrying a little trident. With that he tries to stop him. He looked at him and took off his head, not his trident. Then whatever drama happened, and then he put another head, a Ghana's head on top of him, and he became such a brilliant boy. Even today in India, if people want to start education, anything, first thing is they will worship this boy, which that Ghana has become Gaja. A Ghana's head has become, instead of Ganesha, he's become Gajesha now. They kind of modified it and made it into an elephant head. But he became the very embodiment of intelligence and brilliance. They said there was nothing that he did not know. So that's the first act of Zen. So anything that you can talk of the world, talk in the world, nothing is left out of his life. He's so complex and so complete. And he did not have a teaching, he only had methods, that's the most important thing. Others have teachings. How many fingers can you cut? A method like this, can you employ? Can you go about employing this Guiti's method of cutting a finger? One boy's finger you caught and he got it. If you cut many fingers, you'll only have crippled people. Nothing would have happened. So, there is no teaching from Shiva, only methods. And the methods are 100% scientific in nature. He gave 108 ways and added another 6 and said 112 ways. 112 ways because there are 114 chakras in the body, 2 of them reside outside the physical body. He said, that realm is only for those who are beyond. For human beings, there are only 112 ways. And he showed clear methods as to how you can exploit these 112 dimensions of how this life is made. And each one, how you can… through each one of them you can realize. It's a beautiful story. When he was expounding the mechanics of life with the 7 sages, he had one witness. And that witness is not like Ananda Tirtha, she is Parvati. She's already realized. He taught her or he made her realize in a very intimate manner. But when the 7 sages sat, he went into a completely different dimension of exploration. So it was interesting for her. Something that happened to her so simply is such a complex process. So as he went about expounding different dimensions, he said, there are 112 ways in which a human being can attain. She being a woman, she being realized, and above all, she being the wife. She said, why only 112? There must be more ways. He was looking at the mechanics of life, exploring things. He's not giving a teaching, he's not giving a philosophy. As he was exploring, he saw this as a disturbance. He waved it aside. He said, there are only 112. Because you are going through something and somebody makes a comment which is a personal comment, a whimsical comment. There are only 112. She says, I will find more. He said, you go and find. Then she went. She's already realized, she's trying to explore different ways to find it. After, they say, many years of sadhana, she came back. He was still talking to the Saptarishis or the 7 sages. She being his wife, she can come and sit beside him. But she came and sat 1 step below. She did not want the sages to know, but she wanted him to know that she's failed. She just came and sat 1 step below to indicate that whatever challenge she threw, she's failed. So she did not want others to know, but she wanted him to know. So there are 112 different ways. What Shiva is talking is mechanics of life, no philosophy, no teaching, no social relevance, simply science. Social relevance we add just to make it… rounding it off, otherwise it's too scientific. From this science, individual masters make technology out of it. He did not give technology, he just gave the science of it. The technologies that you are enjoying today, either in the form of a smartphone or a computer or some other gadget that you're using, there is a science behind it. That science is not relevant to you. You are only using the technology. But if somebody had not grasped the science, you would not have the technology. The algorithms that go into the making of a simple software is very complex. Sometimes you got your email in a coded form, did you see? You can't figure out, is this what I typed? It is all kinds of gibberish. But for somebody else it makes sense. Because of that, it is going. Now, here we are just using sound waves. If I speak, these amplifiers are just amplifying the sound that I create and it's traveling as sound waves. But suppose I spoke to you on a phone, then what I speak is not going as sound waves, it's becoming electromagnetic waves, going there and reconverting themselves. So when it's traveling from here, you speak on a cell phone, it's traveling from here to Bangalore, it is not going as sound waves, it's become something else. If you hear that, if you can, or if you feel that, it would be something totally different. But some other instrument once again converts it into sound waves the way you can understand. So what Shiva said is simply pure science. He's not talking technology. He left it to the Saptarishis to make the technology as it would suit the people who would sit in front of him on that day. Depending upon what kind of gadget we need, we produce that, but the fundamental science is the same thing, isn't it? Nothing has changed about that. So, I'm talking about Shiva all the time because it is the science. The tech is not important. It's the science which is important. Tech can be made up. Technology is a made-up thing. Because there is a fundamental science, using that we're making something out of it. Gadgets that are relevant today may be irrelevant tomorrow. Already it's happened, isn't it? So many things. So many gadgets that we thought were very valuable, no more valuable because new gadgets have come, but the same science. So what kind of gadgets we produce simply depends upon who is sitting in front of you right now, what is the need of the hour. So in this context, there is a very, very, very big difference between what you refer to as the Adiyogi and all the other names that you're mentioning. They're all technology people. They grasped one aspect of it and they made a certain technology for people who are sitting in front of them at that moment. It worked for the people, so that's all that matters at that moment. But we are looking at Adiyogi as the fundamental science. It's important. At a time like this, when humanity is in the kind of state that it is for various reasons, it's important, the essential science of it is strengthened.
Thousands of years ago, when Adiyogi looked at or transmitted the tools of transformation, which got labeled as yoga. When this was transmitted, Adiyogi firmly believed that one day the entire world will take to it. There are scraps of information here and there of him talking about how every human being someday will evolve to take on to some tools of yoga. When they asked, why so many? Do we need so many? 1, 2, 3 would be enough, why do we need so many? He said, the entire world will take to it, so many are needed. Not everybody will like the same thing. Somebody would like to do it this way, somebody would like to do it that way. So, all these are needed. The initial teachers or the first teachers of this science, the Saptarishis, obviously expressed doubt. We have not even seen those people, we don't know who they are. In strange lands, we don't know what kind they are. Will they all take to this? He said, your business is to plant the seeds. One seed can turn the earth green, entire earth green. It has the potency. Your business is to keep the potency of the seed. When the weather is right, it will turn green. By the end of May, those of you who lived through May here, you were beginning to think the end of the world is coming. Yes, it was beginning is beginning to feel like everything is going to wilt and die in this heat. See, when the weather changes, everything bursts back into life. Every time the seasons happen, it's like this. In temperate climates, it's far more dramatic. In the winter months, if you look out, it looks like end of the world. Looks like if you don't know, seasons change. And if you look around, you think the world is going to come to an end. Not a single leaf, not a spot of green, everything has gone. But as the ice melts and spring comes on, life bursts forth. So Adiyogi said, your business is not to teach yoga to everybody. Your business is to keep the potency of the seed. You keep the seed pure and strong. When the weather is right, it will happen. I think the weather is getting right for yoga in many ways. For the first time, the entire world at least knows the word yoga. Whether they're yet practicing or not, they know there is something like this. Has everybody taken to yoga? Not yet. But as the weather gets right, if we keep the purity of the seed, it's bound to sprout.